Demonstrators held signs that said, "Someone you love has had an abortion and keep your laws off my body." A gathering in Carl Shores Park organized by Assemblywoman Rebecca Seawright, a co-sponsor of bills that protect the rights of women in New York State. But people who gathered here say that is not enough, that women across the nation should have access to safe and legal abortion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. New Yorkers deserve a constitution that recognizes that every person is entitled to equal rights and justice under the law, regardless of who they are, whom they love, or what their families look like. Because the Bill of Rights of the New York State Constitution does not currently contain a comprehensive equal rights provision, Section 1 of the resolution would expand the Civil Rights Clause of Section 11 of Article 1 of the New York State Constitution to add ethnicity, national origin, disability, age, and sex, including sexual orientation, gender identity, gender expression, pregnancy and pregnancy outcomes, and reproductive health care and autonomy to the existing list of protected classes for which discrimination in civil rights is prohibited. This amendment inherently prohibits discrimination on the basis of pregnancy outcome, reproductive health care, and reproductive autonomy.
This bill is an attack on your religion. This bill is an attack on God. This bill is an attack on abortion, on the ability of the baby. That's right, it's not a living cell, it's not an amoeba, it's a baby from conception. And this is an attack on that. This is going to be murder. This is going to be legal lawsuits all over this state against entities that are trying to help most of us and your kids and your relatives and your neighbors. Taking away religious exemption is one of the most heinous things.
I rise today in this chamber on the shoulders of all those in history who have fought for a New York State Equal Rights Amendment to ensure comprehensive protection for equal rights in our state. We have witnessed the obliteration by our nation's highest judicial tribunal of 50 years of federal protection of the rights of women to determine the future of their bodies. We have seen the federal courts turn the clock back on civil, human, and voting rights. We cannot and must not stand by while freedom of choice and freedom from discrimination are so outrageously denied. Why is now the time to update, to amend, to modernize the New York State Constitution? It is not only because we need broader safeguards against discrimination on account of a person's ethnicity, national origin, age, disability, or sex, including sexual orientation, gender identity, gender expression, pregnancy outcomes, and reproductive health care and autonomy. It is not only because state statutes in place today that matter so immensely can be superseded significantly more easily than overturning the enshrining of equal rights in our state constitution. And no one should live in fear of discrimination because of who they love or because of how they express their identity or because of who they are. The Equality Amendment is necessary because we have been waiting since the Fourth State Constitutional Convention in 1867, right here in Albany, when Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton tried to amend the Constitution to make men and women equal, from voter rights to gender neutrality to basic citizenship rights. Frederick Douglass was there, but those in power controlled the day, and the resistant forces of change won the day. No changes were made. Now, we are 156 years later. That's right, we sit here 156 years later from the time when suffragettes devoted their efforts in this state capitol to the pursuit of equality for all. The time for a constitutional change is long overdue. It has arrived, and it is now. The state constitution was last amended to address the topic of equality under law in 1938, when Section 11 was first adopted. This was prior to the civil rights movement, the movement for gender justice, the LGBTQ movement, the disability rights movement, and developments in anti-discrimination laws. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to dedicate my vote on the New York State Equality Amendment to all of the suffragettes who came together in Albany 156 years ago to advocate that equality be included in our state constitution. We honor their legacy by our actions today. New Yorkers deserve a constitution that recognizes that every person is entitled to equal rights and justice under the law. The concept of equality under the law is a foundational principle of our democracy. I rise to dedicate my vote today to my dear friend, the late Roe v. Wade attorney, who was here in the chamber with us in 2019. It was 50 years ago that she argued and won Roe v. Wade. The only way to avoid the horrors of illegal abortion is to keep it legal, and state constitutions are the vehicle for that purpose. I rise to dedicate my vote to my dear friend, the late Edie Windsor. Together with her wife, they paved the road for marriage equality on a federal level. In the wake of a terribly regressive United States Supreme Court, we are protecting their legacy and the rights of the LGBTQ+ community. Most importantly, the voters of our great state will have the opportunity to assure themselves and future generations of New Yorkers that equality belongs in their Constitution. I proudly cast my vote in the affirmative. Thank you.
Ms. Seawright, in the affirmative. Announce the results.
Ayes 94, noes 45.
The concurrent resolution is adopted. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Members, thank you.